Hi, it's KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guest today is Tim Hankewich from Orchestra Iowa, back after the midwinter layoff.
Right, I just woke up from my long winter's nap,
right,
and here I am naturally at KCCK.
Tim hibernates from December 27th until mid-February.
But I saw my shadow.
Okay, there you go. At the time of our taping, it's the depths of our cold snap.
Oh, my God.
But
yeah.
not a problem.
No, it reminds me of home.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
balmy and quite lovely by Canadian standards.
Yeah, Tim's wearing flip-flops.
That's right.
In fact,
yeah, no big deal.
today. Yeah, not a big deal at all. But the orchestra back in action for the 2025 half of this season, and first out of the gate is a new venture.
Yeah, video games live.
Yeah.
Music from video games is like the future. It's a whole new audience, whole new expectations, and a whole new avenue where symphonic music has that sort of cinematic sweep that is reaching audiences much like Star Wars reached us back in the day. You know? So it's very much an entrance into what we do.
So for video games, is it all electronic generally, or do they bring strings and orchestra in?
It's
for
a
some
multi-sensory
sort
of production.
Yeah.
We're joined by two choirs, one from Kirkwood Community College as well as Mount Mercy University. The orchestra is going to be there, and fronting them is a band led by Tommy Tallarico, who's sort of the artistic mind behind this, who's really tapped into the video scene, and he's sort of our lead guitarist. So the thing that's great about video games, I mean, it has, the music from which has a complete stylistic sweep from like 1970s funk to heavy metal to classical to whatever the scene from a particular video game requires, and with that is also a light show and also some visual elements about it. So it's quite a production.
Of course, we say it's new music and a new audience, but all of a sudden, video games have been with us for 40-plus years, almost 50 years.
And at least over the past decade, maybe 2 decades, video games has far outclipped Hollywood as sort of the main sort of source of entertainment for our generations. And so there's just so many people out there who are not normal symphony subscribers, who just know these melodies and these songs really intimately from their gaming.
Because unlike a movie, which you watch once, and maybe if you stream it or buy it, you'll watch it multiple times. But in a video game, you're exposed to the music for hours and hours and days.
Well, that's the advantage of gaming, is that you as the participant, as the gamer, you are a participant in the action. And to a greater or lesser degree, you are affecting what's going to happen in the plot by the way you're playing. And every time you're playing, it's different, which leads to some pretty interesting challenges to a composer who's trying to find the music to underlay a particular scene that you're in. And so, for example, with a film, or let me back up, as bare minimum, a composer has to establish the emotional context of a particular scene. Now, with a film, everything is set in stone. It's immovable. So you know how the characters interact. Whereas in a video game, characters will interact differently depending on the day that you're playing that particular game. So there are different challenges facing the composer. However, the reason why it's so exciting on the symphonic realm is that these game developments want this epic cinematic sweep so that you are the star of the show. And so why not have symphonic music? Because it just has a greater emotional depth that brings to the action on screen.
But on the other end of the scale, you may be playing a video game and you may be stuck at a certain place for hours and hours. So the music has to be interesting enough that if you are listening to the same,
over
4
and
or
over
5 minute segment, you can't get sick of it.
So there's something called looping. A composer has to come up with a segment of music that is open-ended enough that it'll seamlessly rejoin to where the music began. So every 5 minutes, the same music material will repeat. And that's one of the challenges unique to a gaming composer. What the advantage a composer has with film, for example, that's a fixed medium, is that, and this is where John Williams is so great, is there's an extra tool in the toolbox that composers can use for film. And that is every character gets their own theme called a leitmotif. So whether it's you and I interacting, we each have our theme, and our themes start interacting. And maybe we're talking about a magical ring, and that magical ring of power has its own theme. And maybe we're also talking about good or evil, and the good or evil theme is also there. And so all these themes interact with each other. And that gives the music an extra layer of depth and structure so that, for example, there's a reason why we can do a 2-hour concert of John Williams music, because it's designed not only to do its job in film, but it can also survive without any visual context. Whereas normally with video music, it's about 3, 4, 5 minutes of sort of an emotional context, and then it has to move on. And composers can't use that same trick as effectively because the scene is always modulating and changing depending what you as the gamer are doing.
So more challenging in a lot of ways.
More challenging for a
composer.
The composer. Yeah.
So are you a video gamer, Tim? Do you play,
I'm,
play video games?
You and I are of this generation that we were there on the ground floor.
At the very, very beginning.
Yeah, but I'm not of the generation that really, really went crazy for it. And I do have 2 different gaming systems at home, but they are rapidly becoming antiquated. So I'm my wife is refusing to allow me to upgrade. So if you want to write letters, to Orchestra Iowa, just say, free Tim. Let him buy a new game station.
Let him get a new Xbox.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
So what games will we be having music from?
So it is the gamut from classics to contemporary. So Tommy Tallarico, who's the artistic genius behind this, said, "Tim, please don't reveal the playlist because he wants to really surprise the people." And so it would be really unethical for me to say something like Mass Effect or Halo is in there.
Okay.
I mean, I could never tell you
that.
or Sonic, for example, or Liberi Fatali, for example, or God of War. That would just be so unethical of me. So
Tommy would be so mad.
Just do not ask me that question.
Okay.
But just know that everything from Pong and Galaga all the way to World of Warcraft is on this show.
Well, as we said at the top, it's a slightly different direction, but not really, because especially in the pop series, the orchestra has always wanted to showcase what was happening in today's symphonic music, and this is just as much a part of our culture as John Williams and Tchaikovsky.
Absolutely, and the orchestra is being used as it's designed for. We're not trying to turn the orchestra into a big band, which we can sort of do, but it's still sort of counterfeit because that's not exactly what we're designed to do. But doing musical soundtracks for film and for gaming, that is absolutely what a symphonic orchestra was designed to do.
So if you have a child or grandchild that you've always thought would really love the orchestra, if only they would give it a chance.
Yeah.
Here is the perfect.
And you know what? God gave us opposable thumbs so we could play video games. It's the future.
Coming up on February 22nd, Saturday. Yeah. But one show only.
One show
Paramount only because of 2 choruses, front band, video. There's
we seem to talk about this every time I come into the studio. We've got like the kitchen sink on stage. I mean, for sure we did that for Christmas, and I thought, okay, finally it's going to get easier. No. It gets even more complicated than that. So you're absolutely right. There's so many moving parts to this that there's just one shot to see it. Yeah, bring your kids, bring your grandkids. They're going to love it.
This is one that you will definitely say later you are glad that you were a part of it.
Yeah. For sure.
Orchestra Iowa Video Games Live coming up Saturday, February 22nd. You can get tickets at the Orchestra Iowa website, which is
orchestraiowa.org or artsiowa.com.
And you've got a Masterworks series concert coming up. Come back in a couple of weeks, and we'll talk about that.
It's amazing. All of a sudden, I have to go back to work again. The outrage of it all.
So much. They like you to show up at the office on a somewhat regular basis.
I guess so. Yeah.
Thanks, Tim.
You bet. Cheers.
You can hear the Culture Crawl live on the radio most weekdays at 10:30, on demand at kcck.org/culture, or subscribe using your favorite podcast player. Watch our videos on the KCCK Facebook and YouTube channels. Our producer is Lydia Kilgore. The Culture Crawl theme is composed by Vivian Shanley. I'm Dennis Green, and I'll talk to you later.